Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to warmly welcome you to our exclusive webinar on leveraging conversational messaging for ORM and SRM, in conversational messaging in association, which helps you connect with leaders and spread the word of innovation. So, to begin with, we would like to extend our sincere thanks to our valued partner, Gupshup, our esteemed speakers and delegates who have chosen to collaborate with us to be part of this initiative. So now let me welcome Mr. Srinivas B. Vijayaraghavan, VP Marketing Gupshup, to do the welcome note. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Nishant. And on behalf of Gupshup, I would like to thank you and also thank my co-panelists who will be introduced shortly, and to all of you who've tuned in to this exciting webinar. So education is something that we are all passionate about, and also one of the reasons why we are here doing this today. And education in India over the years, at least in the last 10 to 15 years, has really gone online in a big way. And we call it the e-learning phase, or the e-learning era, where the not just the K-12 education, but also professional education, college education, and also continuing education, people who are working, who are upskilling themselves. A lot of these modules are now being offered online to students, and even degrees are being offered online, etc. But what online has traditionally meant for the education sector has largely been websites, uh, mobile apps, or even custom learning platforms that can be accessed on the internet. But one trend that we have seen in the last 4 to 5 years is the acceptance of the messaging app as being the channel of communication, in addition to websites and mobile apps, between, let's say, the teacher and the student, irrespective of the age of the or irrespective of the topic that is being discussed. And what happens in a messaging app is that uh, it enables two things. One is the student is already, I use a student term generally, but generically, I'm covering a wide age group here, that the student is quite comfortable having two-way conversations with friends and family. So they prefer to use that to have a two-way conversation with their educator or their tutor. So that has been leveraged quite a bit by edtech companies for a variety of things. So one is obviously, apart from the teaching part, also there are lots of journeys that students and sometimes their parents need to be taken on when they work with an edtech company. So they may have questions on, is this the right school or college for my kid, or is this the right, let's say, digital marketing course that I can take as a professional to improve my prospects. So a lot of questions that come up in what you might call as a lead gen sort of a phase. And then depending on how ready they are to take a course or sign up for a program, even transactions can be enabled on messaging apps. And of course, the real meat of it is, while the course is going on, apart from what they're learning virtually, in a blended learning environment or in a pure online environment, messaging apps can be used to do a variety of things, like answer frequently asked questions. You can have a teacher who is available to a student that is 24 by 7, which is not possible elsewhere. So chatbots on these messaging apps, especially apps like WhatsApp, play a very important role. And they also provide a way for parents to also ask questions and make sure that they understand the platform, for so that their children can use it very effectively. So as you can see, messaging apps sort of cover this entire life cycle, from lead generation, driving admissions, to closing out on admissions, to driving the pedagogy, and also being there for the support. Now, coming closer to the topic that we are discussing, given that education has gone online in such a big way, uh, the followership of a lot of education brands on social media and on online communities has also gone up. So which means that there are lots of students out there who are discussing curriculum, who are discussing experience, who are giving teacher feedback, who are giving course feedback online, and they're also trying to help each other by doing that, and they're also giving you very public feedback, which typically happens on social media. So the whole field of online reputation management and social reputation management came up because brands needed to be cognizant of what their customers are talking about them, and more importantly, they need to find a way to assuage those customers, thank them if they're happy, but if they're unhappy, which is typically why you would go on social and give some kind of feedback, how can they mitigate that? How can they bring them back on a positive rating from, let's say, neutral or negative, and how can they do it more and more in real time? How can they do it in a humanistic, realistic, context rich manner? Because we've seen so many cases where you give some feedback to a Twitter handle, and then uh, let's say you're being sarcastic, and you get a reply which says, thank you very much for your comment, and people have just made fun of that. So this is a very, very important field, which can sort of make or break the relationship of millions of consumers, in this case students, with the education brand. And this is where the power of conversational messaging really comes into the picture, which is what Gupshup is all about. Is that you can convert a public comment that a student or a parent is putting out there into a private one-on-one conversation almost immediately in an automated fashion. You don't need to have an army of people uh, scrolling through comments every day. You need to have a good consumer engagement platform that sort of plugs into the social media platform that you're on. It could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be any of those. It could be LinkedIn as well. And then enables your brand, education brand, to be with the followers, with the students at all points in time. So I will probably stop at that point and probably set the stage for my colleagues to join the panel, and then we can have a fruitful discussion about it. Back to you, Nishant.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas Vijayaraghavan, for such a warm welcome note. And now we have an interesting panel discussion coming up on leveraging conversational messaging for ORM and SRM in EdTech. So, to moderate this panel, I would like to welcome Mr. Santosh Kumar, co-founder and CEO 21K School. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure talking to the panelists. And yeah,
May I also welcome the other respected panelist, Mr. Sushil Agarwal, founder and CEO, Sathi Pedagogy. Welcome,
Good
sir.
afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Elets. Thank you, Nishant.
And
Thank you, all my co-wellness for having a great discussion.
thank you. And thank you, sir. And I would like to welcome Dr. Prem Maheshwari, Business Director, South Asia, D2L Asia. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Nishant, and thank you, LSDL, for inviting me to this interesting panel discussion. And I think looking forward to it.
Thank you.
so much.
And I would also like to welcome Mr. Brijesh Karias, COO, Singani Education Services Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Nishant, and thank you.
Yes,
Team Elets.
definitely. And also would like to welcome Mr. Srinivas Vijayaraghavan, VP Marketing, Gupshup, who's already with us. So over to you, Mr. Santosh Kumar. Please take the discussion.
it's been a pleasure talking to such a renowned panel. Now, being an India EdTech industry in India has been growing at a most fastest pace, and the rapidness of the growth is very phenomenal because there are 260 million learners in India whom we need to reach this with different kind of services. Now that's what EdTech as an industry is playing into getting quality education to remotest part of the country. As part of the complete discussion, I would like to start with the very important question which everybody has in the mind, right? Like the EdTech industry has emerged as one of the strongest pillar of education recent years. So how do you look at this journey? I would like to ask Mr. Dr. Prem to put us some light across
Sure.
how do you look at this journey of EdTech in India?
So, as far as the journey of EdTech in India is concerned, I divide the journey into three phases, which is BC, AC, and DC. BC is before COVID, DC is during COVID, and AC is after COVID. So there has been significant transformation in the journey of EdTech, especially in the education industry in these three phases. Before COVID, I think it was absolutely different pedagogies, different styles of teaching and learning, different ways of assessment, typical traditional way of teaching and learning, where students used to go to the classrooms and teachers and lecturers were delivering standard, off the shelf, ready-made syllabi to, during COVID, completely transformed into online education, completely transformed the pedagogies in terms of delivery of education. And now, when things have started opening up into a hybrid mode of education, which is a combination of both online and offline, so journey has moved in terms of teaching pedagogies from being a sage on this stage to guide by the side, and that is going to continue, in fact, going forward. So therefore, edtech has all of a sudden gained a premium position in the education world, irrespective of what kind of institution you are, a K to 12 school or a higher education institution or a university. This is going to stay. Even our regulators and governments have started thinking and implementing policies and procedures which pertain to moving to a hybrid model and modus operandi of education. Even the acceptance of this modus operandi by teachers, by the administrators, by the owners, of these institutions, as also the students and parents, has gained acceptance, and therefore, edtech now onwards is going to play the most significant role in the education ecosystem going forward. So that's my understanding of the importance of edtech, and therefore, this discussion is very relevant in today's context of higher education as also K to 12 education in our country. Thanks.
Great, Dr. Prem. So that's very relevant answer. As an emerging field in India, and with having so much of youth population in India, I think EdTech is going to play a very significant role. And as you are right, many governments and many authorities, many regulatory authorities are working towards getting it into every school also. So I would like to invite Mr. Sushil Agarwal to actually answer the most important part of what Dr. Prem also is mentioned, like pedagogy. So EdTech has emerged as a key player in transforming the teaching and learning process. What are the biggest technical challenges that the industry faces now? As an expert, I would like to hear more from you, Mr. Sushil.
Yeah, thank you, Santosh, for this question. So, as per the experience which we have got in past pre and post COVID and running across 1,000 schools in India, so the biggest challenge which I feel that still is yet to be, which will be solved in over a period of time is on the infrastructure, technology, internet, mindset. They have reached. I mean, definitely COVID has been a game changer in this entire process. But still, I feel that in tier two, tier three cities, use of technology, productive use of technology is again a biggest question to answer. And basically, the biggest challenge which I still feel is that uh, conviction on technology will transform the education is very much important, which I feel that first and second layer has been totally done. Now we need to think about schools in tier three cities, government schools, or slightly above than government schools. So these are, I think, these are the challenges which will definitely get solved, but it might take some time.
Great, Sushil. This actually brings us to a point where technology adoption was the biggest challenge in India. At least after COVID, people have understood that everybody has to have a tech part in their school, irrespective of type of school, government school, and that's where a lot of governments are implementing a lot of new technologies even in the remotest part. So, in line with that, I would like to ask the same question from Mr. Brijesh, so that being from an educational institution, what is your feel about the same in terms of how a technology? What are the technical challenges you still feel in terms of teaching and learning process?
Right. So basically, the first biggest challenge that we noticed around a couple of years back, I still remember one fine day an announcement was made that schools will be shut from tomorrow. So the biggest challenge that India was facing was adoption of technology in the first place before we move to the technical challenges. Right, because I could see 50-year-old teachers, 55-year-old teachers, 60-year-old teachers for that matter, who had never touched technology in their life, all of a sudden had to jump to platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. They had no idea what is going to happen. How do you mute a particular child? So that was the biggest challenge, adoption of technology. Right now, coming to technical challenges, see, one thing is very important: technology moves very fast. It is very agile in nature. So keeping in terms with the latest trend in technology is the biggest challenge, if you ask me. That is the biggest thing that educators will have to understand. For example, if you ask most of the school teachers, are you on Facebook? They're going to say yes. But the moment you ask them, are you on Instagram or are you on Snapchat or are you on Discord, the number of hands keep going down. So students are moving to different platforms faster than the teachers. So teachers will have to keep abreast of the basic trends that are happening in education. That is very important as an educator is what I'm trying to say, right? From an edtech company perspective, the biggest challenge today is finding the right kind of talent in terms of developing the tools that are important. Because in India, unfortunately, if you see edtech companies are two, ones that are doing very well, ones who are not doing well at all. Because ones have actually built solutions to solve problems, and the others have built a solution and they're now looking for a problem. What do I go and solve? So that's why there's a huge dichotomy, and that's why I said these technical challenges will come in once you find the right kind of talent, identifying the key problem, and then building solutions to suit those problems is the biggest as I said, deal maker or breaker as far as a country like India is concerned. Because India is a very fussy market when it comes to the type of tools that are used to teachers are a very, very, very different segment that need to be handled with. I think these are the challenges need to be addressed in terms of adoption of technology. Now, coming to technical challenges, as I said, one is infrastructure is a big, big challenge in India, along with bandwidth issues that we are seeing. So that's why adoption of technology during COVID also, if you see the government schools, the municipal schools were kind of left behind as compared to private schools. And that's why I think I need to put my, as I said, a big hat tip to all the tech companies who basically came to the fore and made sure that no child is left behind. So I think the whole teaching fraternity and all the tech companies in India deserve a huge round of applause for that. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Mrijesh. Just to add on to that, we also use a lot of multiple technologies inside our school, and we actually, recommended this to a lot of other schools. Incidentally, all these schools come to us, even the top group of schools, and say we are not able to force this on our teachers. Basically,
Right.
when you actually, introduce a AI-based learning, when you introduce new type of content, new type the way students will be more interactive, teachers feel very, one thing is they are a bit afraid of learning something new, second thing
Agreed.
is they are a bit afraid of thinking like they are going to be replaced. AI is not going to replace a teacher, at least for next 20 years. That's what I see. But that fear is something first it has to go out of teacher. As far as kids are
Absolutely, and
concerned,
that
they are
will
very
come
tech
with
savvy.
counseling and training. I feel that will definitely happen for sure.
Yes, as far as kids are concerned, they are very agile. You just leave them with
Yes,
a
yes.
laptop, within 2 or 3 days, they'll come up and they'll use anything and everything as far as tech is concerned.
100% agree.
But yeah,
100%.
but that's a kind of thing which
So
I feel that has to be improved. And moving on to Dr. Prem, uh, how has technology helped in globalization of education and opened multiple avenues for the learners? Because I feel that you are the right person to answer this, because D2L has reached all over the world with your solutions,
right,
with
right, correct.
K-12 higher education and everything. So I would like to have your opinion on this.
So to answer your question, I'll talk about a recent recommendation, issued by UGC, which says that going forward, they recommend that 40% of the education of higher education institutions can be, competing online, and the content can be procured from any third-party service provider or third-party institution, which could be within the country or which could be international. Now, use of education technology by most of the educational institutions and schools, as also corporates, have actually really helped all of them to globalize the education scenario. Now, what has happened is that the large number of training courses or apprentice courses, especially in the technical education and medical education, have started surfacing out because of this facility. Now, what can happen is that the educational institutions in India can partner with the international reputed universities and colleges and even Ivy League institutions and universities, and launch training courses in form of joint certifications or twin degrees or twin certifications, and even a large number of executive education courses. So you sitting in India doing a course in an Indian institution can be part of an international curriculum from a foreign university of repute, and thereby gaining a twinning degree as also the benefit of becoming in the alumni of that international university. So global access has happened. Also, another advantage which EdTech has brought specifically from the faculties point of view is to engage international faculties. So far, most of the Indian universities were only dependent on local talent. Now, with the availability of technology and EdTech, now they are engaging large number of subject matter experts, research scholars, as part of their curriculum, who continuously deliver lectures completely online using technology platforms. There are two advantages of engaging such kind of international and global faculties. One is that you get one of the best subject matter expert to deliver their expertise to Indian students. B, you can simultaneously also create repository of such kind of subject matter experts giving their lectures, and use it subsequently for rest of the students or future students. So both things are happening parallelly and simultaneously. This has also led to the acceptance of quality of Indian students. So far, thus far, international institutions and universities are not considering Indian students, as well qualified or intelligent, beings. But now, since they're exposed to Indian students, they now are realizing that Indian students are brilliant lot. They have fantastic creativity. The kind of answers they give, the kind of discussions threads that open on various topics and subtopics with the Indian students are marvelous and out of the box. That is creating a lot of exposure to Indian students to international universities and vice versa. This has also led to opening another area, which is international job opportunities. Now, as part of the edtech platforms, the advantage is you are able to create an e-portfolio straight on the platform that helps a typical individual students to build on the e-portfolio by adding large number of awards, accolades, which a student may have acquired during his learning journey, during the learning ecosystem, which could be academic awards or external awards, and create that portfolio, the link of which can then be supplied to prospect, future employers. That access is also easily available without depending much on the documentation and to and fro travel of documents from one country to the other. So that area is also gradually building up for the Indian students. So from my point of view, I think technology, edtech technology in particular in India, has helped actually in true globalization of education both ways. International education's exposure to Indian students and vice versa, both from faculty's point of view as also students' point of view.
Great,
Thanks.
great. That is very insightful, Mr. Dr. Prem. And I would like to have Mr. Sushil's view also on how it is actually opened up multiple avenues for the learners, because you will have more insightful into kind of Indian audience. And what do you think about it?
Santosh, your voice was fuming. If you can just repeat the question.
Yeah, my question was, what is your insight on how global education and opening multiple avenues for the learners as far as technology is concerned?
Yeah. So, first impact which I see with the help of technology is now India is not like UP versus Gujarat versus South versus North. India has truly become globalized. Now, child in Gujarat is learning from teacher in Bihar. Child in Bihar is learning from teacher, and then it's we are seeing, we are witnessing it on every daily basis. Definitely the importance of improving the learning outcome is growing. I mean, if you see 5 years back, if we just move 5 years back and see how much schools were aware about learning outcome, even the word learning outcome was not popular in fact in the schools itself. Now, because of technology, because we are now we have made ourselves capable that we can measure the learning outcome and focus on the learning outcome. So importance of going global, importance of visualizing what people in other countries are doing, and how what best they have done and what can be replicated over here is I mean is grown drastically. And what I see closely from the schools where we are working as well as schools where we are visiting, that now school is quite aware. They want best content, they want best of best technology, and they are focusing on the learning outcome part. So my take is that yes, it is going good in terms of globalization.
Thanks a lot for that insight, Sushil. Add on to your point, like, yeah, we have seen this in our school also. Students, a class of students has, students from Russia, from Finland, from Indonesia, from India. They discuss so variedly in terms of how these festivals are being celebrated across. What happens during Christmas? Students are having a completely different view now, and the way they learn, the way actually interact with each other, and the way the personalized learning experience is being delivered with the technology is actually phenomenal today. And this would not have been possible say 5 years or 10 years before, the way it is possible today with the advent of hardware and internet connection across the world. So coming back to one of the most important
Santosh,
questions, which
just on that point, I'd like to
yeah,
add, I was attending one global
sure, sure, sure,
class
yeah.
on behavioral management, and this class had some 40 students from different countries, different nationalities, from the age of 21 to 67, all from different backgrounds. Some of them were senior people, senior vice presidents, and some of them were students. And the topic of discussion was, describe three of your best bosses and three of your worst bosses in your career. Such an interesting discussion. And the idea was that whilst people were discussing about their best and worst bosses, different boss subordinate styles came up. Normally in the management books, there are very limited boss subordinate styles that we study in typical management colleges. 27 different styles of boss subordinate relationship, and the way they actually act in a typical corporate scenario emerged. So that is the strength and power of using technology in typical education and training and learning and development.
Great, that's very insightful, Prem, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. There is no opposition to that. Second is like, this question is very close to my heart because I personally deal it day in and day out. I would like first to start. I want everyone to answer this question. First, let's start with the expert in this field. Online technology also come with its own set of challenges like reputation management and customer feedback. What are some of the steps EdTech companies take to manage this? I would like Srinivasan to answer it first, and then we will add all our views. This is a question every tech company has to answer.
Sure, and great comments by everyone on the panel. And as I was mentioning initially, with the proliferation of online education, a lot of traditional businesses across the board are sort of coming to terms with the dynamics of the online world, and education is one of them. So a lot of your brands are also available online. So there are people following them, commenting on them, discussing about them. So as I was mentioning, online reputation management is really important because when it comes to something as important as learning, especially on the younger side of things, uh, you want to make sure that your child is sort of enrolling in the right kind of school or in the right kind of coaching institute. So you do look at a lot of reviews, you do look at a lot of comments, and if you follow any of these brands, then you will see what your co-followers are also commenting on that stuff. And today, the social media platform, it sort of compels you, the human behavior, to actually go out and express yourself, right? If nobody wanted to express themselves, then social media would not exist today. So it's really important for education brands to use technology to, first of all, identify what people are talking about them. So one, that's the first step. That is, how can I figure out if what someone is saying about 21K school or Sarthi or Singhania or D2L. And then once you identify that, then the thing is, you have to figure out what is the emotion being expressed. Are they happy? Are they saying something good? Are they saying something really bad? Is there something specific that they have a problem with? So determining that context is really important. The third thing is what action that you take. Now, you can do all of this manually as well, but I think you would much rather invest resources in hiring better educators, better teachers, finding more students than doing this. So the sort of the student engagement platform, the customer engagement platform you choose, should be able to do all of these things, three things, in a programmatic way. And not only that, convert that into a one-on-one conversation to say that, okay, it looks like you're not happy with something that we've shared, or what can we do to assuage that, what can we do to help you out. And that can be done initially by a chatbot, and the chatbot can live within a Facebook, it can live within Instagram, it can even live within a third party review portal. I mean, everything is possible today with integrations. And then the automated conversation at some point can be transitioned to maybe a learning advisor or student representative, somebody who can help them to get answers or solve their frustrations. So Santosh, I think that's probably the approach that a lot of edtech companies are beginning to take.
Great, Srinivas. So from now, from a customer-facing person, I would like to ask Mr. Brijesh, what do you feel about this question? Like how online technology also
It's
brings in problems in terms of online
a
reputation.
very pertinent question because majority of the businesses today are built on reputations. I'm sure word of mouth is the biggest factor when you're deciding to buy anything or go for anything, right? And secondly, it becomes all the more important for education because education, fortunately, in India is not an impulse buy till now. It's a very heavy involvement buy where parents are involved in making decisions. They have a tendency of asking questions, taking feedback. So that's why ORM becomes all the more important because you are what you are reading. People are reading about you. I'll just share one simple example. I was poised to meet a school principal yesterday, right, for some business meeting. So what I did, I just went to Google, I put his name, and I could see the reviews are very negative. So frankly, I lost half my enthusiasm going to the meeting that, okay, I don't think the thing is going to work out. The principals are not very forward looking in terms of technology. So might as well stay back, might as well not put my 100% effort. Although I have not never ever met that person, but I was able to form a perception about that person before I could meet him. And eventually perception drives behavior, right? So definitely this is a very important thing. And that's why there are two things that I look at it. One is, as I said, how you build the platform, how you build the content, where students should be able to give you feedback within the platform. For example, if you're a video streaming platform, do you give an option like an upward button or a downward button? And as a policy, be at Singhania Quest Plus, whenever the students are reviewing video content, anytime the download button is more than 50%, we have a policy of making sure that that video is changed and done by another teacher. So that is one kind of feedback that keeps coming to you. Second is, of course, they go to the play stores, they do Facebook, social media, Google reviews, a lot of things. That is where thankfully even we have tied up with companies like Gupshup who are coming in and helping us, guiding us through this particular process. We have recently done a tie-up with Gupshup on the WhatsApp integration. That is helping us, slowly frame our strategy on how the bots will help us interacting with the customer. So even if somebody reaches out late at night, at least they have an instant answer to begin with, and the problem can be solved at a later date. So yes, Rob, reputation is very important to anybody's business today because eventually that will help us to gain trust, and trust will eventually help us to gain more business and better business. What the whole point is. So yes, it's very critical and it needs to be managed very professionally. I'm definitely of that view.
And also in India, if I may add, Santosh, it's a little bit more complex because reviews and reputation is not just English language reputation. People
Right.
will go out there and put comments in their local language. Sometimes they use hybrid languages like English. So it's really important to be able to detect what is it that they are saying in a programmatic way. So that adds another layer of complexity where technologies like conversational AI can actually play a huge role in helping education with this.
And it basically customer also looks for instant gratification today that okay,
Yeah,
the moment I've lost a feedback, at least if
yeah,
somebody is responding to me, that solves
correct.
away half of my problems. Whether they're solving the problem or not, at least I have a patient ear. So even the conversational AI which Srinivas was talking about is definitely very helpful in managing that.
And I would give you an insightful answer to that because I would blame the 10 minute delivery guys for that. They have given an instant gratification. Now every customer expects a reply in 1 hour. I'll give you an example. 2 days back, the customer wrote us some query. Okay, it was in email. He wrote first mail at 2 p.m., second mail at 4 p.m., third mail at 8 p.m. asking for a refund. No, I didn't understand what has gone wrong. When our guys called that parent, you didn't answer to my email. In what? In 6 hours gap. Next day they called up. So because of that 10 minutes delivery, the instant gratification is so much inside people, right? Everybody wants an instant answer, instant solving of issues. We have multiple channel of communication like WhatsApp, email, in-app chat, or say phone and everything. But they actually depend on one particular channel of communication and they want instant replies. If not, they just go and burst out. Now, after talking to the parent, they were convinced and they continued. That's the level, level of a parent's engagement or the parents kind of the kind of speed at which they want a reply with. Yes, I do agree with Srinivas that we need to build very deep level of conversational AI because nowadays parents are also intelligent. If you find out a bot is answering, they get even offended for that. But if it looks very smooth, very very human-like conversation, like what GPT-3 is able to do, I think that's where Gupshup plays a very critical role as part of the complete ecosystem of reputation management. But for sure, online edtech companies, not only us but everyone, is very careful in maintaining their reputation and being very fast to answer the query to the parents. It's no more like, parent have to wait for answering that query in 48 hours or 36 hours or even 52 hours. It's like instant. They want an answer in 10 minutes and we need to provide. And I feel that next 2 years down the line, it's not about 10 minutes grocery delivery to your house, but 10 minutes reply to any query or any questions will retain 80% of your customers. That's where the complete industry is transforming across. So I would like to ask Sushil on his experience and his insights into the same.
I mean, I'm connected with Srinivas and Brijesh. I mean, whatever they have shared is the one of the core of the industry. But to add towards it is that the internet has made world very small and connected, and it is made two-sided sword. I mean, if online can build your reputation, if you are not managing things well, it can also spoil your reputation. It will not take even a day's time to draw down things. So it's highly important to manage your customers, manage your team, manage. I mean, everything, everywhere where you are connected, you have no high uh, uh, high level of accuracy in either maintaining your customers, team, and that stuff. The clarity of conversation that we should have with our stakeholders should be quite high. And I totally agree that now platforms like GovShop is one of the beneficial or boon which we can have to handle this stuff.
That's insightful, Sushil. Just to add on to that, what I feel, somehow 100 good reviews also are not equal to actually nullify two bad reviews. Online
Yes.
reputation is so much
Great.
important. You can't afford to have even a single bad review, right?
And
And
to add, Santosh, I mean, if you are doing good for 10 long years, I think you might not receive so much good reviews. But if you just fail in executing in for 1 month, oh my God.
It's
yeah,
like, just
yeah.
to add that, it's like being a goalkeeper. You save 10 goals, it's not going to matter. But the moment you concede a goal, you have had it.
Yes, yes, you're right. Besides that, I think the expectations of us Indians is also different. So I think it's also expectation management in case of both ORM and SRM. I think very important is that how do you deal with the expectation? As you rightly said, that there are certain parents or students, or for that matter, faculties who have certain questions and they need answers instantly, 24 by 7, and they're not willing or wishing to even wait for the next working day. In such scenarios, it becomes often very difficult. And I think that most of the companies now have started using chatbots and various other facilities to answer some general questions. But still, if there are tricky questions or specific questions that a bot cannot answer or cannot answer satisfactorily, then there are issues that crop up. And therefore, I think very important is to besides managing the online reputation and the service reputation, is also to manage expectation management, because I think that is possible only if you are able to deliver services in time, and that's critical. For example, I'll give you a typical example in the online learning management industry. We have many local players in India who are offering their services. In the international brands, there are only four reputed international brands who are operating in this industry. Now, the issue is that if there's a query or a question from any institution or a faculty, as simple as that they're not able to log into the system because they've used the wrong password or an ID, they want instant answers. But the service providers are not in this country. They are in a different time zone. They're in a US time zone. As a result of which their queries, simple queries, get answered in a 24 hours time slot. And that is how and that is where the issues start cropping up. So therefore, you need to think as a company or as an institution to have a local setup which is able to answer questions or queries instantly within the Indian time zones. So all these things, EdTech can absolutely help institutions, companies to ensure that the queries are resolved in a timely, efficient, and effective manner. That's the key word, as far as SRM and ORM is concerned.
So, in fact, I can give you two examples. So, you've all heard of Khan Academy. So, it's a very popular learning app. So, when we worked with Khan Academy, their biggest use case was, how do we help parents and students get used to the app? They may have questions on how to use the app, what features it has, and they have millions of students. So, they have students who are from different languages. So we built a chatbot for them that actually does just that, like where they can ask a question like, how do I use this feature of the app? And it is available to them in about 10 or 12 different Indian languages. In fact, we've even taken it to other regions like Southeast Asia and all of that. So I agree with Dr. Prem that if, let's say, that were not there, then and it's not intuitive for everyone to get to use these apps, especially as you grow older. Maybe, like you said, kids are probably faster at figuring it out, but sometimes parents need some assistance. So that's where it added a lot of value. And the second example is this company called Doubtnut. You might have heard of it. It's another edtech company with a lot of students following them. So they also use a WhatsApp chatbot where a student can actually type out a question in the STEM area, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And then in response, the bot will choose about 5 videos of answers, and they get options to sort of view those videos in about 10 to 12 different languages. And all of this is done in an automated fashion. And at some point, of course, as Dr. Prem was mentioning, having a live agent or a human support is important, but they need not be the first point of contact. So you don't have to make that kind of investment where somebody anywhere, somebody in the remote corner of India can wake up and ask you a question. You cannot always be prepared for that in a manual manner.
Yeah, yeah, that's really right, Mr. Srinivas. I am the guy who will totally agree with whatever you told. Okay, so we have couple of questions from our customers, like the viewers of the seminar. So why is it so important for edtech companies to look at online reviews? I think a person who has seen all edtech companies, Srinivas, I think if you can start with, and then we can add on.
No, I think the panelists have already answered that this is not an impulse buy, as Brijesh was saying. It's something that even if you are a professional looking to upskill yourself, imagine the amount of analysis that you will do to figure out whether you should take. I just took the example of a digital marketing certification from provider A or B or C. So there's a lot of feedback and reviews that you look at before you take a call. So that's why it's really important for edtech companies to invest in technology to manage reviews and the online reputation.
Great, Mr. Srinivas. We have another question. I think is very apt. You can answer that. How can the bot help us in sales engagement? It's a very beautiful question. I think you can put on some line.
Yeah, of course. I think lead generation is one of the most, if you look at the history of bot usage, I think the first function that actually adopted bots was actually customer support. Because customer support is all about how do you make it more efficient and cost effective. So a lot of companies used it, like I gave you the example of Khan Academy. But now what's happening is a lot of companies are using bots to do a lot of lead generation and lead nurturing. And just like it's not an impulse buy, there are so many questions that you want to ask your potential education provider before you sign up with them, that they may not have an army of counselors available to talk to you at all points in time. So whether you have a website or a mobile app, whatever is your starting point, at some point in your lead generation journey, you can hand it off to a bot, which typically works on WhatsApp, or it can work on Instagram or Facebook. And the bot can answer a lot of questions. Like it could be, what is the price of this course? Who is the teacher? What are what is a pre-qualification required to take this program? What is the pedagogy like? How long will it take? So these are all standard questions which you don't really need to have a human being to answer that. And secondly, it depends on the maturity. Like if with Gupshup, what we do is we also add a lot of natural language processing capability to our bot. So if you want to ask a question that's sort of out of syllabus of the lead gen bot, and you want to ask a completely different question, then that it'll interpret it and then figure out whether there is a predetermined response available. If not, then you pass it around to a lead qualification expert or a counselor who can sort of take that. So that's one example of how education brands can use, and a lot of these things can be templatized. You can embed forms, you can capture there's a study that shows that people might be willing to give a bot more information than they would when they're filling out a form, because a bot is engaging with them. So tell me your age, tell me your gender, tell me your height, tell me your qualification. So you will not, you will feel like, okay, I feel like answering this because there's somebody who's asking me this question with interest. But you may not get that same level of interest in a very static form. So these are some ways in which, bots can be used for lead gen.
Just to add to that, we have cases wherein bots have helped us at least to we engage the customers during the off time, like Saturday, Sundays, if even don't work. Bots engage the customers, and we come back again on Monday and we can start working. So that's why bots are really useful. But yeah, at a particular we are still to have that completely perfect bot which is actually completely conversational in terms of it. I think technology will bring it through also, what I feel. So there is one more question for you, Mr. Srinivas. How many message load can the Gupshup product take?
Oh, I
I think
think
you can answer that.
Gupshup is one of the most scalable platform that you can find. So it's all in terms of TPS or transactions per second, and I think so. Gupshup is used by some of the biggest banks and e-commerce companies in India. So as you can imagine, we send about 7 billion messages in a month. 7 billion messages go through our system in a month across multiple channels. So that's the kind of load that the platform can take.
I think there can't be any better answer than that. 7 billion messages per month is actually phenomenal. So I would like to ask about the social bots. I want to ask Mr. Sushil, how do you feel that social bots have emerged as one of the key tools for SRM and ORM? How can social bots help in reputation management for edtechs? What is your take on that?
First and very important use case of this tool is the immediate response. I mean, at least there is someone who responds. At least some bot can figure out what is the first level requirement. If I mean, almost 50-60% cases they just simply need some information which can be shared by the bot. So such type of cases can be handled by the team, and your requirement of team gets reduced, and you can hire people who are more qualified to handle the typical type of queries which is manually to be handled. And apart from this kind of bots is helping you to manage large set of customers, manage bandwidth which at a time you feel it's not next to impossible to handle. So I feel that these are the areas where bot has helped companies to do ORM and SRM.
Great. So, Srinivas, what are your take as far as SRM is concerned? I think we spoke more about ORM, but in terms of SRM, how bots and digital mode? Because one of the questions from panelists is it possible and perfect in digital mode to maintain SRM as far as SRM and ORM is concerned? But specifically SRM, what is your take on how it can be managed digitally perfectly for edtechs?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of comments that we see for our customers on their social handles. And the way it works is that the minute you type any kind of a comment, the bot keeps looking at, if it depends on the channel. If it's Instagram, it keeps polling the DMs. It also keeps polling the posts, the comments that are added to individual posts. And the minute there is a comment, the bot sort of analyzes immediately whether it is a question, whether it is some sort of a form of either appreciation or frustration or whatever it is, and immediately there is a DM that is opened with you, the person who put the comment, and just like the company is talking to you, they say, and there is a bot that starts a conversation that, hey, I noticed that you posted this comment. Can you give more details on what is the issue? And then you start a two-way conversation, and then at some point it gets handed over to a live agent. So once that is integrated with your company's handle, be it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of that, then the bot takes over. The bot keeps polling, and the bot sort of finds it, and the bot can also sort of track certain hashtags and things like that which are outside of your channel but on the same social media platform. So that's how it kind of works.
Great. So that kind of omni-channel experience, which is what every edtech is also expecting, because we have created so many communication channels, like I said, email, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, whatnot. So this omni-channel experience is what every customer wants, and you cannot expect every customer is to be on a single channel. Like if you are on WhatsApp, you can't
Yeah.
expect everyone to be on WhatsApp. That's where, I think bots will play a very critical or very major role in terms of giving that omni-channel experience. And added to that, Dr. Prem, what do you feel about international market, or how Indian? This is a question from my side. How Indian education or edtech system can actually expand internationally with a proper ORM, SRM, and how we can prove ourselves to be leading education providers? Because 200 or 300 years back, it was Indians who were educating the rest of the world.
Right.
Now it's like we are sending out our people to get educated outside. So how this can change over a period of time with with the support of edtech, like Sharati or Singhania
Right.
Group of UNK School? How do you feel that that is being emerging?
So I think, frankly speaking, both SRM and ORM are typically required to create that aura, that reputation of Indian educators, Indian institutions overseas. It's very, very important and critical, because so far, what Westerners or what the established, reputed international institutions think about India is that most of the Indians are not able to provide quality education within their country, as a result of which there's a lot of brain drain into the Western world, without understanding or knowing or realizing that such a huge massive country with fantastic amount of brain, fantastic amount of creative power, has so much to offer to the world. Now, here the role of ORM and SRM is very, very important and critical, because uh, the Indian educators, the governments, the regulators, the faculty lot, all the academia has to put brain behind the use of ORM and SRM and technology to now create and build that online reputation. Because today what is happening is there are a large number of courses and streams that are available in our country vis-a-vis Western world, that they're all obsolete now. The innovation that has come up in India in every field, you talk about engineering, you talk about medical, you talk about social sciences, management, whole lot of new streams, new innovations have come up in our country. The idea is that they're not known to our own people, what to talk about international audiences. There we need to use artificial intelligence led tools and techniques, ML, to actually start talking about the wealth of even knowledge repository that we have in our own country. Now that is going to attract large number of faculties, large number of students overseas to come to India. Today, if you see most of the Indian universities and institutions, if you see the population of international students, they're largely from South Asian countries, neighboring countries, to a certain extent, African countries. But when you talk about the Western world, Europe, US, Australia, New Zealand, you hardly find any student coming to Indian university to gain higher education because of this reputation. People think that we are providing average obsolete content in our universities. The way we assess, the assessment tools, techniques are absolutely obsolete. They are still following typical pen and paper examination system. All that is in their mind. A country of elephants and snakes is still in their mind, and therefore using artificial intelligence led ORM and SRM is the need of the hour, and we all need to be part of this movement to create that reputation once again, that we have one of the best educators, one of the best education and best institutions in this country, and let the world look at it. And this can actually help two ways. One is increasing the international students population in our institutions and universities. B, giving a new fillip to the online education. Now, there are large number of universities in India which have started offering online education, especially during COVID, when in 2020 government allowed top 100 and then 200 universities to offer online education without any approval. They have started, many of them have started the online institutions, and they've launched online courses, but the admissions and the enrollments are dismally low, because the access to these institutions is only local. People are not interested to join online MBA from a local university. They reach When they reach out to international students, they're not interested because of our poor reputation. So I think very important and critical to make Indian education globally recognized and visible. Use ORM and SRM the best way possible to create and build that reputation internationally. That's the need of the hour. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Prem, to summarize it very well. So, Mr. Sushil or Mr. Bridges, would you like to add something to the conversation, or you want to
So
add something to
basically,
the conversation?
yeah. So as Mr. Prem mentioned, that it's very critical that A, the good things or the good objectives that we are achieving out of Indian education need to be shown to people. And I'm very sure that that has started happening at the K10 level for sure. For example, I was in Dubai recently for the Jazz Summit, and we went and met KHJ. There's a huge demand of Indian schools coming up, not only for the Indian diaspora, but to run the international schools as well. So somewhere our reputation in the K10 sector is definitely preceding us. So Gulf is where you are basically starting to see the change on the ground. There are 30 to 40 plus Indian run schools catering to thousands of students and giving quality education. Secondly, if you see during the COVID era, especially on our platform, also we catered to almost 2 lakh students in the last 12 months alone. We could see students coming from various countries for various different types of programs. Somebody was here to learn coding, somebody was here to learn, Russian ballet, different kind of courses that we had put on the platform. People from various countries knew that, okay, this is our country where basically the quality of education is slowly growing up. But as Dr. Prem very correctly mentioned, in the higher education space, in the university education space, there's a huge amount of work that still needs to be done. And that's where tools like, with the help of AI, we can definitely achieve that objective.
Yeah, Mr. Sushil, you would like to add something?
I mean, most of things are covered by Brajesh and Prem. But to add to this point, online reputation and social SRM is again a critically very important part of to do any kind of business in this era. And tools like this is definitely going to be one of the key factor to maintain our current customers as well as maintain the reputation to build the new customers in the coming time. So, not adding much to this, but I feel that whatever has been said is the clear path for all of us.
And that's why I think we were taught a quote when we were young that your reputation precedes you. So it's very important to take care of that.
But the reputation is governed by the rest of the media, not by us. Media, in the sense,
Yeah,
people.
that's why we say
It's
perception
no
drives
more
behavior. It's important to manage
perception.
perceptions.
Exactly.
Sometimes,
So
just to add, sometimes query is quite small. It's all about talking to the customer or talking to that person stakeholder at the right moment. Uh, and it becomes big if we are not. If he's listened, then I think one of the panelists have already shared. If customer is listened at the right time, things get resolved at then and there itself. So, such type of tool is going to help us a lot.
80% of the chances or 80% of the case we have also seen, it's only that instantly they want somebody to talk.
Yes.
They want to
They want a
they
patient
want you to
hearing,
pick up the
that's it.
phone and talk to somebody. Yeah, if they want to hear you, 80% of the issues are sorted. There's no major
Perfect.
problem at all with your product or something, but they want to hear you. They want to hear to talk to
Absolutely.
someone, right? That's a kind of, with increasing, customers, with increasing lot of volume, we are not able to give dedicated accounts manager to each and every person. But, they want that, they are expecting, customers are expecting. I think that's where, technology will play a major role in coming decade in terms of satisfying customers query or customers review, like customers instant questions and all those problems. So that's where the complete industry is going forward as far as customer experience is concerned. And I strongly feel all new edtech should actually first concentrate on customer experience and solving customer issues. That will actually bring in lot of repeat customers, because with the cost of acquisition going so high, it will only make sense when you have repeat customer, and to have repeat customer satisfaction plays an important role. And that's the take from our side as 21K school. So thank you everyone for being such a good panelist and such having such a fruitful discussion. I feel also our audience had the same, and I would invite Nishant again to have a conclusion. Please.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists for such a stimulating discussion. And as a token of appreciation, I request all the speakers to stay back to accept the certificate of participation. So let's have the certificate on the screen. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Santosh Kumar, co-founder, Chief Executive Officer, 21K School, for joining us for moderating such a great panel discussion.
Thank
And
you, Nishant.
yes, thank you, Mr. Sushil Agarwal, founder and chief executive officer, Sati Pedagogy, for joining us, sharing the insight today. Thank you, Dr. Prem Maheshwari, business director, South Asia, D2L Asia. Thank you, sir, for joining us today and sharing the insights. Yes, thank you, Mr. Brijesh Karia, chief operating officer, Singani Education Service Limited. Thank you, sir, for joining and sharing the insights today. Yes, of course. Thank you, sir, for supporting us. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas B. Vijay Raghavan, VP Marketing Gupshup. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful key welcome note as well as great insights. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone, again for contributing your valuable time. Thank you, all the delegates
Thank
who
you.
attended it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure interacting with all of you. Bye.
Thank you, and have a good afternoon.